Hey everybody, I'm Scott Butwell. Welcome back to my channel. And I want to share with you guys today something that I like to do that I think is very beneficial to any writer. I call it deconstructing a scene. And you can do this with any book. Here's a book that I like, Bill Bryson's A Walk in the Woods. And you can do this with your own writing too. And by deconstructing a scene, what I mean is you take any scene in a book and you look for the 5 or 6 different story units. You guys are familiar, I'm sure, with the different story units. You have an inciting incident at the beginning of a scene. After the inciting incident, you have some progressive complications where the story escalates with conflict. And then the story builds and builds and builds, as I like to tell my high school students, to a crisis moment where a character faces a decision. And then after that, there's the climax where they take some kind of action, or maybe not. And then there's the falling action, and then there is the resolution. So you can take any scene from any book, and you can kind of study and analyze those elements. And it's really helpful to your own writing. You can look at your writing and see if you have those elements, or you can look at someone else's writings to kind of help see what makes their writing good to apply it to your writing. So again, you can deconstruct any scene by just looking at one story unit at a time. So I want to do this with a particular story I like that I use with my high school students, and the story is by John Amici. He's the first openly gay basketball player in the NBA. He came out after he retired, and I don't have the book cover with me because I loaned it to my brother, but I'm just going to read you guys the beginning part. And what we're looking for at the very beginning is an inciting incident. So an inciting incident is some kind of event or incident that kind of kicks off your scene. It can be kind of a smaller event, or it can be kind of a larger event. So that kicks off your scene. So let's just take a look real quick. This is the first paragraph, again, from John Amici's book called Man in the Middle. I think I'll just paraphrase this beginning part to make it where I can still keep looking at you guys. So basically his sister, John Amici's sister, invites him out on New Year's Eve to go to a club. And this is a gay club, and she's worried or anxious that he, as a basketball player, might not treat the gay men there respectfully. He might have some kind of negative attitude toward them. So one thing she says is Cruise is a gay bar. So if you want to come along, behave. Be nice to them. So there you can see the inciting incident is he's going to a gay bar. That's the inciting incident. And his sister is kind of concerned that he might be hostile to the gay people. But what's interesting here, obviously, is John Amici is gay. So that's kind of be the focus of the story. So you can see an inciting incident kicks off the beginning part of a story, and it leads to the progressive complications. So we're going to see now John Amici at the gay bar and how the story kind of escalates and escalates as there's more and more conflict. So in the progressive complication of John Amici's story, the main thing is when he goes to the bar, he immediately starts getting hammered. He says he's not sure if he's going as gay, straight, or asexual. So his solution is to just start getting drunk. Drink after drink. He gets out on the dance floor, and someone winks at him. And that's kind of a progressive complication because it shows that someone is kind of maybe attracted to him. Then another progressive complication that escalates the story, someone squeezes his butt, and then someone comes up to him and whispers, "I know who you are." So you guys can see all these events are escalating the story. They're putting him in a situation where does he come out and become out of the closet and acknowledge he's gay, or does he keep his cover? So he's been kind of, as an NBA athlete, not coming out of the closet for the majority of, for all of his career, because maybe he feels like his contract would be at risk if he came out as gay. So he's being winked at, his butt's being squeezed, someone's saying, "I know who you are." Those again are all the conflict escalating, where it's leading him to a point where he's at a crisis. He has to be honest and open with his sexuality, since people are now seeing him in a gay bar. So the next part after the progressive complication is pretty much the most important part of the story. It's the crisis. The crisis is when a character is faced with a question that they have to answer. So obviously John Amici here, he's in a gay bar, someone's whispering, "I know who you are," someone's squeezing his butt, so he's now faced with this situation. Do I come out, or do I kind of continue this meticulous cover that I've maintained as a professional athlete? So he goes into the bathroom, and while he's in the bathroom, someone leans in forward for a kiss, and John Amici leans down. John Amici's 6'10", so he leans down for a kiss. Right when that happens, the doorman from the bar comes in, and the doorman says, "Oh, I'm gonna tell your sister." So there is really the crisis moment, is he has to decide, does he let the doorman tell his sister about his sexuality, or does he do it himself? Does he tell her that he's gay? So that's a crisis moment. So again, deconstructing the story, you can look for this crisis moment to see how another writer kind of builds up from the progressive complication to the crisis. And you can look at your own writing to see if you're doing that. Are you escalating enough? Do you have a crisis moment, or maybe you don't? Sometimes the crisis moment too, you want to kind of stretch it out and kind of make it suspenseful and interesting, since it's a key moment. I just want to clarify that this video is not about sexuality. I'm just using this story because I really love how it's written, and I love to deconstruct it with my students. And so this video is not about sexuality, being gay or straight or whatever. It's just about deconstructing the scene to really see how well it is crafted, so you can craft scenes that have these story elements. So after the climax is the next part of the story unit, is called the falling action. And I like to think of the falling action as the part that's most easily forgotten by myself and any writer. And the falling action just means it's the events between the climax and the resolution. So it's just little events that kind of tie the story together, that after that climactic moment where he's writing this note to his sister, it just might tell you a couple other events before the resolution of the story. And then the last part is called the resolution. And I like what Sean Coyne in the book Story Grid says about resolution. He says resolution, obviously it's the ending of a story. It's little events that end the story, but it's also, Sean Coyne says, an opportunity for the writer to show how the main character's world view has shifted. So as a result of John Amici coming out and sharing in a note to his sister and then to his friend Peter, obviously his worldview is shifting, where he's coming out. He's more comfortable sharing with other people that he's gay, and he's kind of engaging their response. And so what I like to do in my own writing, especially with the resolution, is to look. Am I really showing how my main character in a scene is shifting their worldview? So I'm writing a memoir. It's an autism memoir. It's about me and my son, and what I'm learning about him as a child on the spectrum. He's 13 now. What I'm learning about myself as a dad. And so every scene that I've written about, 35 solid scenes that I've revised. So I can look at every one of those scenes, and I can look at the end, deconstruct that scene by seeing if I'm showing how my worldview has shifted. Maybe in a small way, maybe in a big way, but it's a great way to see if I'm including that part that Sean Coyne says about having my worldview shifting in the resolution. I can also obviously look at other parts of my scene. I can look at the beginning, for example, and I can see if I have the inciting incident that kicks off an event. I can see if I have escalation in progressive complications, more and more conflict. And obviously the progressive complication relates back to the inciting incident. And then I can see if I've built scenes up to crisis moments. So sometimes I notice I don't. And so I can go back and really think to myself, hey, what's the crisis that I'm facing in this particular scene? And I can really make my scene really heighten that crisis. Because if you don't have a crisis, the thing is you don't really have a good scene because you're not really showing how a character is changing or arcing throughout a scene. So I want to encourage you guys that deconstructing a scene is something you can do with any book. And it's an easy way just to take a couple minutes. Even with this book, you can just look at the first paragraph and see if there's an inciting incident in it. You can see how a writer begins their book with an inciting incident. And again, every scene has an inciting incident, so you can see how important each one of these elements are. Inciting incident, rising action is another name for progressive complication, crisis, climax, falling action, and resolution. So again, I encourage you guys to try this out in your own writing and in any book. Just look at the story units because again, a scene is really the backbone of any book. A scene is what a book is just made up of, scene after scene after scene. So if you can write a good scene, you can write a good book. So again, encourage you guys to deconstruct scenes in your own writing and in other books, and it'll help you improve in your story writing craft. Everybody have a great day, and thanks for watching this video.